Doug, what in the world can the Celtics do at this point so that they are competitive again in the East? At one point, they were the favorites, but, I mean, they're looking kind of messed up.
Well, I mean, look, they have 12 new players from last season, and the team was constructed to have Gordon Hayward. And kind of like we all freaked out and have probably gone overboard about how good the Cavs look over the past 2 games is the same reaction we had to how good the Celtics looked early in the season, right? They played way above their level. Everything went in. They got a couple of calls, and Kyrie Irving was so happy to be out of Cleveland that he made some plays that are even above the level of Kyrie Irving. But look, you have 2 young wings who I thought looked like young wings yesterday. I mean, we've all been, I think, a little bit amazed at Jason Tatum and how quickly he's assimilated to the NBA level.
Yes,
but
didn't see that development quickly.
But Jason Tatum was 4 of 13 from the floor. Jaylen Brown 4 of 12, and they look like children getting pushed around by maybe the best coaching job Doc Rivers has ever done is this year with the LA Clippers. I mean, think about the turnover they've had.
Yes.
And think about the thought that everybody thought DeAndre was going to get traded. He was, in fact, going to get traded. And yet they kind of kept this thing together, even through some injuries. So, first, a little bit of credit to Doc Rivers. Second, I think even Brad Stevens knew that they weren't as good as the results would tell you in the first month and a half of the season. And this is closer to who they are without Gordon Hayward. When you're a team built around 2 All-Stars, that being Kyrie Irving. I know Al Horford's been an All-Star, right? Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, and you don't have one of them, you're going to be trouble. And you don't have Marcus Smart, who's your toughness. Yeah. So you lost your toughness from last year, you lost your toughest player from this year, and you don't have a complete rotation. You're playing younger players. This is what happens in the NBA. They're not as good as the early results would tell you.
And 2 of their frontline players being very, very young. So not only they don't have the bodies that they'll have in a couple years, but also at this point in the season, they're not rookies and everything, but they're still in the early stages of the career. Tatum is a rookie, Brown being in the 2nd year. They're starting to hit that wall. Also, NBA teams are starting to play more out on them on the 3-point line and won't let them shoot those no-look threes. So last night's game, though, let's talk about that. Brad Stevens, what he's got to be disappointed in, they got outscored by 20 points in the paint. So not only in last night's game, but what we've seen in the first 60 games is their lack of post offense has really hurt them. So late in games, they have no post offense. If Kyrie Irving isn't scoring late, because that's what they were doing. They played great defense for 3 quarters, and then in the 4th quarter, Kyrie would cook up a potion. Yes, and that's how they won a lot of these games. Now we have some correction. And Doug's not wrong by saying, you know something? They missed Gordon Hayward. People are like, well, he got hurt in the first game. So what? This is a team constructed to have his stability in the game. Him getting 22 to 23 points a game, getting 7 rebounds, 4 to 5 assists a game. That's what Gordon Hayward would be getting. So when you can't replace that, and also the Marcus Smart injury, so they went through the tough month of January, the other teams, but Marcus Smart injury takes away their grit, takes away some of their defensive toughness. So now this is who the Celtics really, really are compared to the team that we saw the first 30 games.
So I hear you both telling me that they need to be very worried because certainly when you look at them versus the new look Cavs, as we're calling them, they're completely deep, right? So they don't have, as you point out, Chris Carter, this construction around these 1 or 2 only guys, and without one of the elements, they fall apart this way. So, Doug, given that, this is where they are,
right.
As you say, this is probably really what they should be looking like considering the factors. What, if anything, can they do to turn it around?
Well, they're going to get Marcus Smart back, and I think I think this is a good thing. Remember the first 2 games of the year, Kyrie didn't play well. They lost, I think, the first 2 games of the year, and it was like the best thing that could happen because if you trust Brad Stevens' system, what he's going to get you is what CeCe's talking about. The beauty to it is he creates kind of false movement so at the end of the shot clock, you have the center guarding the point guard, and your point guard's your best scorer. And early in the year, what was happening was Kyrie was like, look, I can take point guards. I can take 2 guards. It doesn't matter. And I think Brad was sitting over there going like, would you just trust me? The percentage of times in which you'll get a good shot are made exponentially higher if you will just allow the offense to work for you. I think he's had that same problem with Jaylen Brown, with Jason Tatum, where a little bit of success before maybe they were ready for it has allowed them to think, okay, I'm going to be a 3-point shooter. Okay, I'm going to go one-on-one. I'm going to break off of the system. It's allowed them to be a little bit softer defensively. You add Marcus Smart, that changes your makeup. Remember, they haven't had Marcus Morris the entire season. I think eventually they want to make him a bigger focal point into their key lineups. I think it's going to take time, and then potentially adding Gordon Hayward. It's the big, Brad Stevens has said he doesn't expect him to play, but Gordon Hayward is walking, is shooting, does look like he's walking without a limp. I think there still is the possibility of seeing him, but you got to see him before the playoffs, because you can't go from 0 of not playing, breaking your leg, to 100 and playing the playoffs. I do think they'll get better with Smart and with more time with Marcus Morris. And then the idea that Brad, I think, likes the fact they're not playing well, so they can hit refresh during the break.
Yeah, if he did have a broken leg, we might see him in the playoffs. But he didn't. He had a total dislocation of the ankle, which right now, last week, our friend Chris Mannix saw him, and that ankle is still black and blue. So, yes, he's walking around. He's doing some stationary things, but I would be shocked. I would be as shocked when I saw that injury if I see him get on the court this season.
And do you think it would be irresponsible if they try to move too quickly?
I don't think he's going to be able to get on the court. I just think this is kind of the Celtics magic that they're sprinkling around to a young team. Oh, Gordon Hayward, he might come back and everything. No, Gordon Hayward is not.
So you're saying they're selling pipe dreams?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's more that it's kind of like when Derrick Rose was healthy with the Bulls, and people were like, why doesn't he play in the playoffs? I don't think people have a healthy respect for the level of competition, how it steps up in the playoffs.
The intensity, yes.
Right? You can hide a guy for 10 minutes in an NBA regular season, end of season game. You're playing against a G League guy. You're playing against teams that are tanking. They're trying to lose. You can throw him out there 10 minutes, run up and down. He wouldn't be ready, likely, until the playoffs. And you can't just throw a guy who hasn't played all year, that dislocated an ankle, and put him on the court in the play. It's such a high level of competition, you just can't hide anybody.
Fair enough. We'll go with that. Now, coming up, Philadelphia. Yeah, I'm wearing that Philly Eagle green today, too. They look like they got some quarterback controversy going on. That's next on First Things First.
So you just jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Just jumped
Fly
yourself